Have you ever had a goal, an obsession that felt, well, just completely impossible? Today, we're going to dive into a story that really gets to the heart of that feeling. It's a story about failure, again and again, and what it actually means to chase a dream. And it all starts with a very old myth.
Right, the story of Sisyphus. He's stuck in this loop, condemned to this seemingly pointless, never-ending struggle. It's become this powerful metaphor for any task that feels endless, any goal that just feels a little bit out of reach. And for one filmmaker, Casey Neistat, this ancient myth, it was about to become his modern reality.
So our story doesn't begin on some mythical hill. It starts on a New York City street in the winter of 2007. There's a motorcycle accident, and it completely shatters Casey's femur. The doctors had to rebuild his leg with a titanium rod. And their prognosis was blunt. Yeah, you'll mostly recover, but you will never run again. And in that one moment, he was given his boulder. So this is where the story just takes a wild turn. Instead of accepting this new limit on his life, he sets a new, completely impossible-sounding goal. He decides he's not just going to run again. No, he's going to run a full 26.2-mile marathon in under 3 hours. Just think about that for a second. That's a pace of less than 6 minutes and 50 seconds per mile, and you have to hold that for almost 3 hours straight.
And just to put that goal into perspective, okay? The average person who runs a marathon finishes in about 4.5 hours. A sub 3-hour time isn't just good, it is bordering on elite status. So the gap between average and his goal was, it was huge, especially for a guy with a metal leg who was just told he'd never even run again.
And so his personal Sisyphean task began. His very first attempt was in Richmond, Virginia. He didn't make it, so he changed everything. He stopped drinking, he stopped smoking, lost 20 pounds, ran every single day. He tried again in New York City in 2009 and fell short. Florida in 2011. Another miss. It just became this loop. Try, fail, get back up, and try all over again. And this is what makes it so relatable, isn't it? Life doesn't just hit pause while you're out there chasing some crazy goal. He got married, had kids, took on new jobs, moved across the country, and eventually, he turned 40. The boulder wasn't just the marathon anymore. It was pushing that boulder up the hill while juggling the entire weight of a full life. Okay, so let's fast forward to 2023. After more than a decade of pushing this boulder, what comes next is framed as the ultimate attempt. He's 42 years old now, and he decides he's going to give it one perfectly prepared, all-or-nothing shot at the New York City Marathon. And this time, the preparation was just flawless. He hired an Olympic marathon coach named Roberto. He went through 16 months of grueling, focused training. No shortcuts. He said himself he was fitter, faster, and stronger than he'd ever been in his entire life. This just had to be it, right? The official time came in, 3 hours, 1 minute, and 27 seconds. He missed his goal by less than 90 seconds. After 16 months of perfect preparation, after more than a decade of trying, the boulder rolled all the way back down the hill.
So you really have to ask yourself, why? Why does this one arbitrary number matter so much? This quote, I think it really explains the stakes. It's not really about a race. It's about that internal weight of an unrealized dream. It's a promise you make to yourself.
Because you have to understand, at this point, after running nearly 24 marathons, the motivation, it had evolved. It wasn't about a broken leg anymore. It wasn't about proving some doctor wrong from years and years ago. The why behind the struggle had become something much, much deeper, something way more personal. And his own words, man, they just get right to the heart of it. He explains that we all find these personal obsessions, these goals that seem kind of meaningless to the outside world. To everybody else, it might just look like a hobby. But to you, it's everything.
And even with all the failures, despite the fact that nobody else really has anything invested in your success, you just keep going. You get knocked down and you get back up. Like he says, you persevere. The act of trying, that becomes its own purpose.
And here it is. This is the ultimate payoff. When you finally step back and you look at the sum of all those struggles, all those attempts, all those seemingly pointless pursuits, you realize that what they all add up to, what they ultimately equal, is your life. So what do you do after the most crushing failure of your life? After publicly missing this goal by such a razor-thin margin? You don't give up, no. Just 5 weeks later, he was standing on another starting line, this time in Tucson, Arizona, ready to push that boulder one more time. And on that day, he did it. 2 hours and 57 minutes. After more than a decade, the boulder finally rested at the top of the hill. He was a sub-3 marathoner.
And that right there, that really is the core lesson of this entire journey. The point was never just about crossing a finish line with a certain time. The point was the struggle itself. The difficulty wasn't some obstacle on the way to the goal. The difficulty was the goal. That's what gives it all its meaning.
Which really just leaves us with one final question. We all have a personal sub-3 marathon, right? That one goal we gave up on because it was too hard or because, life got in the way. Maybe it was learning an instrument, starting a business, maybe just getting in shape. The real question this story asks us isn't whether we can achieve it, but whether we're willing to fall in love with the struggle. So, what's the boulder you need to start pushing?